her turn, her speech.
My first friend on set, that was Finn. Even when he was like, what, 13, 14, he's like the coolest kid ever. Hey Teen Vogue, I'm Sadie Sink, and today I will be sharing with you some of my firsts. The audition process for Max, I wanna say it took place over a month. I think at one point they thought I was gonna be too old, but I was just like, no, just give me more material. Like I wanna go in again. And then I did, and we did a chemistry read, and I got there and we were all the same height and the same age, and they had nothing to worry about. First big stunt I ever did. On Stranger Things, there's like a scene in season 3 where like Billy like punches me across the face. Billy, please, I'm not. So that was a stunt, I guess, but the real heavy stunts come in season 4. The first thing that people get wrong about me, probably my age maybe. People recognize me from the show when I was like 14 or 15 on it. They think somehow they've aged, but I haven't. But I have. Oh my God, I was so nervous. The first day of shooting, being on like a TV set as big as Stranger Things was very intimidating. The first scene was where I'm like in my like Michael Myers like costume, and then I jump from the bushes and I scare the kids.
Seriously, I could just eat like a whole bowl of nougat, like, straight up.
Holy shit, you should have seen the look on your faces. And you? Who screams like that? You sound like a little girl.
I remember watching season 1 like the week it came out because all of my friends were watching it. I think I watched it in like 2 days or something like that. Like I did not leave my room. I first watched it like a week before I got the audition. So that's when I think I got the audition, I was like, this, like, I don't know, like it was just aligning. I still feel like every time I hear that theme song, I go back to like my room on my laptop when I'm watching season 1 for the first time. My first dream that ever came true, being on Broadway, like that was all that I wanted, and I was able to do that when I was like 10 years old, I think. That was the ultimate dream. My first show was Annie on Broadway, and Annie was everything. Like I'd watch the 80s version of Annie with Carol Burnett and Aileen Quinn over and over and over again. So to do that on Broadway was like, oh, it was everything. First thing I learned how to cook for myself. Oh God. You know, I actually, over the pandemic, I liked to cook a lot, but prepackaged things are so much easier. So unfortunately, I'm like a cereal for dinner kind of girl, especially when like I have a busier schedule, or like Postmates. First date? No. Maybe when I was like little, you know, you'd hang out with a boy and then people were like, oh, you went on a date? And I was like, no, no. First famous person that followed me, I mean, I guess it'd be one of my castmates, I guess, when I joined the show, technically. I honestly didn't feel like really intimidated going into like a cast that already knew each other. I think the only intimidating part was like joining a show that had such an enormous fandom. That was something that I was not used to in any way, and just to kind of be like thrown into that was like a lot. I was at like a speech and debate practice or something, and my mom called me in a panic, and she was like, I need to pick you up. And I'm like, well, Mom, I'm practicing my routine. And she's like, no, I gotta pick you up. So then like she came, she picked me up, she drove me home, and she was driving really fast. And then I think I knew something was up, and then I got a phone call, and it was Matt and Ross, and they were like, all right, you got it. I was like, okay, cool. And then I think I had like a month before I had to go to Atlanta. And it was hard because like I just started freshman year and I was really liking being in school. But then of course, when Stranger Things came along, I was like, oh, no, this, we're gonna do this. The first time I watched myself on screen, it was my first TV job ever. And I made like a little guest appearance on a TV show called The Americans, which is a really good show.
Do I look like a little girl?
Thank you.
I was like, oh, I don't like watching myself because, you know, when you're on a stage, it's like you go, you do whatever, and then you don't have to see it or think about it ever again until the next performance. But like seeing your work back, that was the first time I like was kind of like watching myself act. And it took some getting used to for sure. The first piece of advice I remember getting as an actress, it was like the second show that I did. One of the associate directors was like, you know, go be a kid. Like, experience what it's like to be in school and high school. Like I'd been out of school since the 4th grade, I'd been homeschooled. And so I took that advice, and I'm really like glad that I did, because I, you know, made friends and got to experience high school. My first friend on set, I knew Caleb and Gaten before because they were on Broadway at the same time. First person I met besides those two, that was Finn. Even when he was like, what, 13, 14, he was like the coolest kid ever. First time I got on a skateboard was for Max. Probably I was like 14 years old. It was hard. I had to like work at it for 3-4 months or something like that. The goal was to just make it, you know, look like I was comfortable with the board. Yeah, it was like 3 hours every day for a long time. I have a few skateboards that are just like collected. And then sometimes if I'm bored, I'll go like skate around the block, like if I'm at my parents' house or something, but not often. My first red carpet event was, I think, season 2 of Stranger Things. God, no one teaches you what to do on those things. They kind of just like throw you in blind, and I'm like not a natural in any way. I was just kind of like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna like look at what everyone else is doing and try and emulate that. They said my name, and I remember that was really weird for me because the show hadn't even come out yet, but they still like knew my name. It's just so overwhelming, but you get used to it for sure. The first thing you should do when you visit Texas, go get yourself like a half gallon of Bluebell ice cream. You won't regret it. Mint chocolate chip was always my favorite. But I know a lot of people think that shouldn't be an ice cream flavor, but that was my personal favorite. My first big purchase was a car that I got myself for my 18th birthday. It was a Tesla. It was exciting. It was new. It was like, I had it for myself, and I was like, I did it. And it was electric, and I loved it. And then I sold that car because I didn't use the car. The first thing I did after getting gassed as Max, I told my brother Mitchell, and he cried. It was very sweet. I'm one of 5 kids, but my brother Mitchell was like my musical theater partner in crime. I think the first time I cried on command, it's interesting because when I was little, crying on camera was all about like producing tears, and you were just like, oh, I gotta get a tear down or something like that. And then as you get older, there was like a shift where it's like, you kind of start to just like feel it more, and like you're actually emotional when you're doing it. I like hate hearing myself even say this. It sounds so actory and I hate it, but like, yeah, you like go to a dark room and like you'll like listen to music or something, get into your character's mindset, whatever like serves you in that moment. The first time I met Dacre, who plays Billy, my stepbrother on the show, we didn't have a chemistry read or anything. So I think I met him at like the opening like cast welcome dinner. We didn't get to practice anything. Like our first scene that we filmed together was, I think, in episode 4.
Hey, this is serious shit, okay? I'm older than you, and something you learn is that there are certain type of people in this world that you stay away from.
Dacre's such a nice person, and in between takes, he's just, you know, ever so lovely and charming and hilarious. But then we'd get into it, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, it was a lot more intense than I thought it was gonna be. But he's a really talented actor, and like taught me a lot just like watching him just throw himself in there. First time I got turned on for a role I really wanted, oh man, I auditioned for Matilda, which my brother ended up being in. I am not a dancer. I can't do that, but I auditioned, and needless to say, did not get a call back. That was it. The first time I got recognized, I was skating at a skate park. Some girl like walked up to me and she was like, Mad Max, and that was the first time, and I was like, oh my God. And then it started happening a lot more as like more people were watching the season and everything. First time I felt like a real adult, probably when I started living on my own and like going to set on my own. Before you turn 18, you have to have a parent or guardian with you on set. And then I turned 18 over the pandemic, and my mom was like, all right, fly away, be free. First piece of advice I'd give aspiring actors, go big, like make choices, throw it all out there. You kind of get like a little stiff and you just do things the way you think they want it to be done, and that can work sometimes, but like, don't be afraid to like mix it up a bit and like put yourself out there.